a lot of people are harkening back to the 1970s and the inflation we had back then. My next guest started a company back then in 1978. You might have heard about it. It was Home Depot. Ken Langone with us right now, the co-founder, also the Med Associates chairman and founder as well. Ken, I was just thinking of you and Bernie Marcus, everyone else, starting back then in the middle of this hyperinflation and then the stagflation. You somehow made it, and you somehow, clicked on to something. You worked your butt off. I get it. But is this environment like that environment? To me, it seems markedly different. It was a lot tougher in your day. But how would you describe today versus what you were going through back in '78?
Well, interest rates were much higher then. Capital wasn't as readily available, so we had the combination of what capital we could get costing us more if we could get the capital. But, Neil, let me say this to you about the success of Home Depot. It's because of these 500,000 kids in the store. We had the idea, we executed, but these kids make it happen. These are the people I worry about right now in inflation, because inflation is probably the most regressive of all taxes. It hits the lower income people more than anybody else. And we are right now in a period of bad, bad inflation. In many respects, it was caused by the policies of the administration. This issue with energy is man-made. We were energy efficient. We were exporting energy 2 years ago. Today, the president goes over with his hat in his hand to Saudi Arabia and begs them to turn the pipes up. Here's where we are. And by the way, I don't care how you want to define it. We can agree to one thing. The economy is receding. It's going down. Now, you want to call it a recession or not, play with the words. But the fact of the matter is the economy is going down. Every place I'm looking, I'm seeing signs of pullback. For example, in the textile industry. It's not just saying delay delivery to us, the customer. They're saying we'd like to cancel the order. This is serious stuff, and we are in a recession.
All right, now, I raised that very subject with White House Economic Advisor Gene Sperling on this very issue. What are you actually calling what we're in? This is from yesterday. I want you to react afterwards, Ken. So well, you're not calling it a recession. I get it, Gene.
What did I say? I said you want to give.
What would you call what we're in now? I would say
that after the record red-hot economy we had in 2021, you're seeing, understandably, a cooling as the Federal Reserve is raising rates. And the goal is for us to be able to make a transition to a more stable growth with lower prices.
You know, you can dance around the subject, and you're quite right to say, all right, let's settle on a receding economy, not a recession. But I do know in poll after poll, Ken, a lot of Americans aren't discerning the difference. They're just saying it's a recession to them. And I almost think it smacks of a dismissive attitude if you don't kind of hear or respond to their pain. What do you think?
Well, that's the whole point. Look, I don't mean to disparage anybody, but I would suggest to Mr. Sperling, we're in the trenches. He's at the White House. I think our knowledge of what's happening is far more sensitive than his. We can see it in everything we're doing. The important thing is, what are we doing about it? When you have 9% on inflation, classic logic is you need 200 basis points more than the rate of inflation to snap the back of inflation.
Now, if you think about that, if you have 200 basis points or 2 full percentage points more than inflation, and we're carrying a 9% or so inflation rate, you would have to get up to that level just to sort of counter it. Now, I guess the Fed is hoping that by raising interest rates again and again and again, they don't have to go that high. That will slow the economy enough that you'll never see the interest rates you did when you were founding, Home Depot. I'm just wondering, is that doable? Because that's a mighty task.
Sure it's doable. Paul Volcker took interest rates up to over 20%.
That's right.
To snap the back of inflation in 81 and 82. Of course it's doable. It's painful. It's particularly painful in an election year where you want to get reelected. But that's not our problem. That's the politicians' problem. The fact of the matter is we need to figure a way out to snap the back of inflation. Inflation is destructive. Go look at countries like Venezuela, Colombia, Argentina, Brazil. When you get rampant inflation, trust me, you have social unrest because the poorest people, the people that work the hardest, the people who have the least are the ones that get punished the most.
So, Ken, let me ask you
look,
something.
they can
If
call it
you
whatever
had
they
to
want.
start
Yeah.
Home Depot today, I'm sorry for jumping on you. Could you start it in this environment today?
No, for one reason, besides what we're talking about today. We based our company on making sure that all the people that worked with us, not for us, but with us, were owners. With the change in rules regarding stock options for accounting, we couldn't do that. We couldn't start Home Depot today because the essence of what we are is all those people that work in our stores with us own stock. They own a piece of the company. Why are they passionate about their work? Because it's their business. So it's apart from inflation. The issue is, well, there's plenty of capital around today. They're throwing it around like drunk sailors. I would think probably it would be easier for us to raise the money. On the other hand, it would be impossible for us to motivate the people the way we did. And we did it with style. And more importantly, Neil, the greatest statistic I have about Home Depot is we have 3,000 kids that started with us entry level, pushing carts in the parking lot. Today, they are multimillionaires. That's capitalism at its very, very best.
So what do you think, Ken, in this environment now,
hear,
there's a big climate change package they're working on here, and we don't know all the details yet. We know enough that to pay for it, they want to get a corporate minimum tax of at least 15%, also looking at how generous they should be about depreciation allowances, maybe start changing that, essentially to go after, well, guys like you. What do you think?
Come after guys like me. They come after me. I pay my taxes. I don't have any avoidance. The point is, let's be honest. The problem you got right now is no matter how much they raise, they spend more. The thing I have, and I'm a big fan of Joe Manchin's. I've made that very clear publicly.
Well, he signed on to this.
He believes his motivator, what motivated him was he gets in here provisions that will abate the problem with energy in America. Look, energy is a defense item. If we have to depend on the rest of the world for energy, that's a tough way to be. More importantly, we can't help Europe now. And guess what? They get their energy from Russia. If I was Russia, I'd sit tight, hold my breath, wait till November, December when the weather's bad, when people need to be warm, when factories need to run, when cabs need to drive, and shut things off. We are energy dependent, and that's no way for us to be. And this was self-inflicted. This was the current president doing what he did by saying he wanted to get, I want to get green too, but we're not going to get green overnight. Green's going to take 30 to 50 years.
So you like what Manchin did. One of the things he signed on to this, a lot of people aren't as up on this as you are, Ken, that he signed on to this because it makes credits and allowances for drilling and traditional fossil fuels as well as wind and solar. But in so doing, he signed on to something that, in the past he had said he would not sign on to. In this case, a lot more government spending, and I guess he hopes it works out. It can pay for himself. But that was a tough choice. A lot of people argue that this spending is what got us in trouble to begin with.
If they did nothing more than raise taxes through the minimum tax for corporations and whatever adjustments they made with other forms of income, leave it at that. Why? Because mysteriously, revenues have a strange way of not coming in, but spending just happens to hit the mark every time.
Yeah.
So what I'm worried about is, with all due respect, look, I wish the senator hadn't signed on to this, but I understand why he did. And I can't quarrel with him because energy is a significant defense item to America, to the world. When we're dependent on the rest of the world for something, that means we need them. A good example is semiconductors. That semiconductor bill was passed for one reason. We rely almost entirely on Taiwan Semiconductor for these devices. We can't make cars, we can't make medical devices, we can't make telephones. All these things are now driven by chips. So, look, I think Manchin is a fine man.
All right.
I wish he was a Republican instead of a Democrat, but you can't have everything.
That's right.
But I think his motive is noble and fair. I believe he's going to be tricked. Okay, that's what I'm worried about. I shouldn't say I believe. I'm worried he's going to be tricked. The revenues won't be there and the expenses will be there, and that's going to be inflationary. That's going to be, by its very definition, inflationary.
All right.
So what are they doing? They're only putting more gas on the fire.
We'll watch it closely, Ken. Thank you very, very much. What you and Bernie Marcus created.
You look very good, Neil.
You look very good. And you started Home Depot and you didn't have a handy bone in your body. And think of that. This is a great country.
No, that's not so. That's not so. My father was a plumber, and before I went to college on weekends, he made me work with him. That if I couldn't get a job when I graduated from college, I'd have a trade to fall back on. So I can still wipe a joint and I can still thread pipe. Okay? Neil, have a great weekend, and thanks for having me.
But we'll see. It's always good seeing you, Ken.
Bernie, Arthur, Pat, we were a lot of people that founded this company.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you very, very much. Ken Langone on all of that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.